Hey guys, this is the final example of the anatomy tracings. I hope you guys are enjoying these. It's kind of like a pre-exercise before we start actually getting down to business and learning all this stuff. So I hope it's not frustrating. Hope you're enjoying these. Okay, let's get into this final example. So you can see this one, I'm starting with the bony landmark of the scapula. It's actually a very good way of starting the back because so many of the muscles attach to the scapula. So if you can identify that first, then it makes everything else so much easier. So I identified I started with at the top, the acromion process, brought it into the spine of the scapula to the medial border. That's the one, the inside border next to the spine. And then I brought that down to the bottom corner of the scapula. So I got the top edge and the inside edge. And then you can see the deltoid attaches all along that bottom edge, or the bottom ridge of the top edge. And also the trapezius attaches to the scapula at the top edge. So lots of muscles attaching to the spine of the scapula. The trapezius here, you can see I'm working on the top edge, which starts at the spine of the scapula and goes all the way up to the skull on both sides. And in between them, you got that tendinous diamond-looking shape where the seventh cervical vertebrae is. Right there, that's the bottom of that diamond shape. There's the attachment to the corner of the scapula. And you can see there's the meaty part of the bottom head of the trapezius, and then right there is the tendon that attaches to the bottom ridge of the spine of the scapula. It's a pretty complex area, because right around that corner of the spine of the scapula, the trapezius turns. It attaches to the top ridge and then it turns, and then with a tendon it goes back up and attaches to that same ridge but on the bottom side. Okay, now going into the deltoid. Lateral head on the outside and then posterior on the back. Also attaches to the spine of the scapula. See the pattern there? Everything attaches there. There's the tricep. And then the teres major. He's got very big teres major muscles. That whole large bump right there, that's the teres major. And then on the other side, it's actually even bigger, you'll see once I get to that part. On most people, it's not going to be that big. It's usually going to be a thinner muscle. Doesn't take up that much space of the scapula. Most of the space of the scapula is going to be taken up by the infraspinatus. So there you go. Right here, that's the top of the lat, which also describes pretty much the bottom of the teres major. Usually they overlap a little bit. Okay, so see, there you go. There's that whole area right there. That's the teres major. Okay, bringing it down to the lat connection to the pelvis. So there's the iliac crest, right along there. Same thing on the other side. See, I found that dot first. You could see where the oblique ends and the gluteus starts on the contour of his body. So that's the easiest way to find the iliac crest. And bringing that lat down. Same thing on the other side. I'm seeing a little bit of a volume for the serratus, and right there as well. The serratus attaches underneath the scapula. It's a deeper muscle, and it's under the lat, but when it's developed, it's large enough to actually push out and kind of affect the surface of the lat. So in this case, it does. Okay, identifying the connection of the lat to the tendon of the lat. And there's the pipe-like muscles of the erector spinae. External oblique, just a little bit. Coracobrachialis. Again, the tricep, and I'm finding the tendon first, which connects right up to the elbow, and then on both sides of that you'll have the tricep, or the belly of the tricep. On the side, same thing. Seeing the belly right along there. And right there you can see a little indentation. That's where the two of the heads of the tricep kind of overlap. And then the other one's on the other side. Okay, there's that 7th cervical I was talking about. Right in the middle of that diamond shape. Sternocleidomastoid muscle from the back of the ear to the pit of the neck. I'm just going to speed it up even more on this one and finish up the white areas of the bones. So there's the spine of the scapula where everything's connecting. A little bit of those tendons from the deltoid and trapezius at the bottom. There's a little bit of a thin piece in there for the medial border of the scapula. Tendon of the trapezius. Down here, another tendon for the lat. Tendons for the tricep. Another thin indication of the iliac crest. And finally, just going in and adding the line direction for the muscle fibers. And this will conclude the examples, guys. I will see you next week, and we're going to be going over common terminology. We have to cover common terminology before we start going over these muscles. As I'm sure you've witnessed, as I'm describing all this stuff, you might be confused because of not knowing what any of these words mean. Posterior, inferior, superior, anterior, lateral, medial, longus. All these words, they actually have a meaning. And if you know them, it's so much easier to understand what the heck I'm talking about. So, we're going to go over that next week. Then we're going to go into joints and start the skeleton. All right, guys. See you next week. Okay, thank you for watching, and thank you for sharing this with your friends. Bye-bye.